My Zoom camera's not working. Kate, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing, I'm hanging in there. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on, but we're thrilled to have you on the show, and congratulations on running for office for the Texas House of Representatives. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from originally, my friend?
I'm born and raised in Austin. I went to UT here in Austin for undergrad and law school. Just lucky to have been born in a cool city. Never left.
I hear you. I know that there's a lot happening, obviously, in the area of immigration. What made you choose immigration law, just out of curiosity?
It was 20 years ago, and I was in law school trying to find a career in public interest and signed up for the immigration clinic because I wanted to use my Spanish. And my first assignment as a law student attorney was to go into a detention center for families that were seeking asylum. And my first clients were a family with a mom and a dad and a baby, and they all had prison uniforms on. And the mom asked if I could sneak her baby out and take care of her until they could get out of there. It was so terrible. And that moment, that interaction changed my life because I realized the reality of immigration policy and just felt so much passion and dedication for the work. And, the work has only gotten more important and difficult in the last 20 years. But I'm so glad to have chosen it because it gets me out of bed every day.
I appreciate the work that you're doing. Thank you for taking that on, really.
Thank you.
Before we talk about your candidacy, because someone asked me today about obviously we were all talking about the gerrymandering in Texas. They're eliminating, seats, the Democratic Senate, congressional seats. Somebody asked me, don't you think that Latinos will now, start voting, start to go more back towards the center or more left? And I was like, I don't know. It's kind of tough. Texas is unique, isn't it? Kate's Texas is a little bit challenging.
It's really challenging. Texas is very conservative. There's obviously a lot of rural parts of the state. There's a lot of people who don't want government interference in their lives. That whole tread on me stuff. There's a lot of ranchers, a lot of evangelical Christians. But there's also a really, really powerful Christian nationalist conservative Republican force at play, with billionaires who have buddy contracts with Governor Abbott and a state legislature who's willing to do whatever Abbott wants, including a mid-decade redistricting, a power grab, an illegal power grab. And so, there were reasons that the Republicans, I think, came into power that were legitimate and understandable. And then there are nefarious and disturbing reasons that the Republicans have maintained power. And I hope that we'll see a flip in Texas sometime soon, because I think the reality of the way that the state votes and feels is way more blue than the election results demonstrate.
Oh, gosh, I hope so.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that's pretty hard to imagine. We talked a lot today about, when abortion rights were absolutely decimated and now only getting worse, where they're putting bounties on people's heads. It's literally the wild, wild west, it feels like, in Texas.
Oh, completely. I remember 13 years ago, because my daughter was a baby, and Senator Wendy Davis was filibustering. They were cutting back the timeline when a woman could elect to have an abortion, and she filibustered. And I took my baby, strapped to me, and went and stood in the gallery to support her. And then you fast forward 13 years, and Roe v. Wade is gone, and there's a complete ban on abortion in Texas, and bans on out-of-state abortions and criminalizing the women who get them and the providers who provide them, and even unconstitutional stuff, of course, that's being passed. And it's so upsetting when those moments when I pause and reflect on how far we've fallen in terms of women's rights. It's really disturbing. It's like we're in some dystopia. What woke up, and how did we get here so fast? And how much effort is it going to take for us to climb out of this hole? Quite a bit, just to get back to where we were, which wasn't even enough.
Yeah, I was telling someone today that, with everything happening, with how much is happening every single day, just the sheer volume of constitutional violations, the corruption, the stories of women who are, dying or losing their uterus, or infants, because they are eliminating the mortality, the maternal mortality boards. Even babies that are born in states that have strict abortion bans aren't surviving because they're not getting a lot of the services that are being cut off. So with all of that, what inspired you to run for office? Because I think you've got a lot of reasons, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so many reasons, and this issue that we're talking about is one of the main ones. I think that the statistic is that maternal mortality increased by 25% in the state of Texas when the abortion ban occurred. So, of course, women's rights over their own bodies, LGBTQ rights need a lot of support in the state of Texas. As an immigration lawyer for 20 years, watching families get ripped apart has been heartbreaking, and watching the state enforce immigration rules, and not only that, spend Texans' money on enforcing illegal immigration policies. I mean, to the tune of, at this point, is it $18 billion? I think I want to say it's $18 billion since 2020. And at one point I did a calculation. Okay, what if we had instead taken that money and put it into the public education system, which is also being trashed in the state of Texas? We could have raised the teacher salaries by $5,000 per teacher in the state of Texas, instead of all these billions of dollars enforcing immigration rules, which only tore families apart and actually resulted in fewer than 1% of border apprehensions. Like, also wasn't even effective. Or we could have tripled mental health support for students in the state of Texas. I mean, we could have done so much good with that money, and instead all we do is terrorize and waste and give government contracts to Abbott and his cronies. And it's so corrupt. It's such a kleptocracy. It's so disgusting. And it's time really for people to just get really, really loud about it. It's just, we cannot do traditional party establishment, toeing the line, regular behavior. We have to get really loud and scrappy, because the Republicans they have the billionaires at their back, and they are outspending, and they are conniving, and they are evil. Many of them, not every Republican, of course, but these nefarious dark forces really are evil. And we have to be brave and loud and unified and inclusive and invitational. And when somebody wakes up and says, actually, I voted for Trump because I thought he really was going to go after the bad guys, and now I see that he wasn't because my neighbor or my friend got picked up, and then we have to say, okay, well, welcome over here to the bright side. We got it. You made a mistake, and you can be one of us now. I think that's something too that we really need to consider as we look to flip states like Texas blue. How are we going to grow the supporters? And that's by allowing people in who may have voted in other ways in the past, and they're waking up.
And you're hearing from, because I think that's part of it. And it's also obviously registering more voters. From what I remember, voter turnout in Texas is not great.
No, it's not great. And a lot of that is because our voting rights are also attacked by conservative Republicans. They like to strip away our ability to vote. So that's a big part of it. But there's also, I think a lot of the electorate doesn't get included. I mean, one of the things that the Democratic Party really needs to do is speak in Spanish more. 1 in 3 households in the state of Texas speak Spanish. And if we want to up the Latino vote, well, that's one way to do it. So there are things that Democrats, I think, can and should and are doing to improve. But time is ticking, and we got to really get to it, because this next, election cycle is critical, as we all know.
Now, if you had, 30 seconds with a constituent, what's your platform? What's your pitch to them to get their vote?
Well, here's the deal. I am here for the regular working people who literally just want to live a good, decent life, raise their families, have access to good school for their kids, not have their higher educational institutions, be stripped away and overseen by people who have strict ideology. I'm here for women. I'm here for families. I'm here for the LGBT community. I'm obviously here for the immigrants. I'm willing to listen. I'm humble. I want to know what the voters want. I'm not scared of anybody. I've debated Stephen Miller on Fox News, and I'm willing to be the tip of a spear, and I'm a soldier. I'm a good soldier, and I'm here for the voters.
Outstanding. And by the way, we've been talking to Kate Lincoln-Goldfinch. She's an immigration attorney and CEO of Lincoln-Goldfinch Law in Austin, and she's now the candidate for the Texas House of Representatives. Where can folks learn more about your campaign?
It's KLG for Texas on Instagram and .com and all that.
Outstanding. Thank you so much for joining us, and go get it. We'd love to talk to you again. If you have something you want to let our listeners know about, just because you're in Texas doesn't mean we can't support you. And we have listeners all over the world. So it was a pleasure to meet you. And again, thank you for running for office and all the work that you've done.
Thanks for having me on. Have a great night.
Absolutely. Thank you. Take care.